Hi there. I'm Today I'm looking at a blog review, um, and I'm reviewing Matty Freeman's blogs that he is currently walking, which is titled "Programming Children as the Eye of Consciousness," and this is a very important series for parents to walk through and to read because Maddie opens up many points and much common sense is shared in his blogs, and I would very strongly recommend for every parent and non-parent to read it, because while reading this blog you will realize for yourself how basically the way that we have been teaching children and how we have been living is a complete lie, because we've only existed in ignorance, as just simply not realizing what we're in fact creating within our children, because we've been living as though our children are like almost raising themselves. Like, we do something as parents, we kind of follow the rules and we kind of live according to and teach our children according to what we've been taught by our parents and according to how our parents have raised us, within the good faith that it will turn out okay, because I've turned out okay, so my children will turn out okay. And I mean, all the while we look at this world and we wonder how things got so bad. Why does poverty exist and starvation, and why is the world so fucked up? And we never bothered to actually look at ourselves as parents and to see ourselves as and realize ourselves as the starting point of all the problems on earth, due to how we have been raised by our parents, which was actually in quite a dysfunctional way. I mean, simply because we survived our childhood doesn't mean that it was necessarily a good childhood. I mean, in terms of that it was necessarily the best childhood that we could have possibly have gotten, or that was in fact best for us as who we are as living beings. So, I mean, that's like a statement that many parents will tend to make, like, hey, my children turned out all right because they survived. I mean, they didn't become like handicapped in some way, and that's like apparently a valid reason to believe that I raised my children well, because they have managed to adapt to society and they've managed to become good copies of their parents, so things must be all right. While all the while we're none the wiser, and we're completely baffled as to why this world exists the way it does, because we don't see ourselves as a family and as a parent and a child. We don't see ourselves as the starting point of this entire world, because if we did, we would actually have to realize that in fact we have not been brought up so very efficiently. And well, yes, okay, so but I am discussing Maddies Block, and I'm going to just read a little bit through it to just show you how really cool his writing is. Okay, here's a fragment. How can the children of this world take responsibility for this world if they are programmed by movies, television advertisements, a society that allows destruction and abuse to go on? I mean, the society that these children were born into is not standing as an example of taking responsibility for this world, but is only standing as an example of defining yourself, your I, as a limited experience ending in 70 or 80 years. How can these children ever take responsibility for life if they are not standing here as life, considering themselves, their I, as the eye of life that is equal in all beings, the eye of life that is born into this world generation after generation? How can these children ever ensure a world that is best for all life if they are programmed to see themselves only as the eye of survival? I mean, within the word survival, we can see the accepted value system of the world and society that is programming these children survival, survival, wherein serve I val, wherein value is that which serves my own survival until age 70 or 80. So, yeah, here he opens up the point of how everything about our children and everything about who we have become in this world, everything that we speak, everything that we are, is a program that has been programmed and inserted into us through childhood, through our upbringing by our parents, which is the same that we're doing to our children. So, I mean, children don't raise themselves in any way whatsoever. Everything about our children is who we are, is what we have programmed into them. And this will become more clear in his following blogs. For instance, I forgive myself that I have not accepted and allowed myself to realize that when my children see me living my life within acceptance of the money system, not investigating any practical solution to support life in this world, and when they see old people and the way they live within complete acceptance of the money system within themselves as old people, not seeing it as a problem that they've reached the end of their lives without having made any difference in this world whatsoever, the children will accept that example as the way things are and will live the same way, just as I did by copying the example of my parents and grandparents set for me. I forgive myself that I have not accepted and allowed myself to realize that by the time my children accept individual survival and self-preservation as the definition of life, they will already have an effective foundation of justification for themselves to pursue happiness as a consumer without regard for those without money and access to support in this world, as they will have accepted the belief that they are not responsible for those other people because I can't do anything, I'm just here to survive, which is the example set by the parents. So, I mean, in this we can clearly see how our entire attitude towards this world, which is basically one of complete indifference and just apathy and total giving away our responsibility and putting our hands in the air and going like, well, who am I and what can I do, and I'm just living my life and I'm just happy and that's all I can do and that's all I can be. I mean, what do I have to do with those people living all the way across the world starving to death? That's not my problem. And even if it was, I mean, what can I do about it? I'm just a little Joe trying to take care of my children and my own life. And in this, that's exactly what the previous generations have been showing us, that kind of attitude, which is what we have literally simply copied and pasted inside of ourselves and just lived it out exactly the way that the previous generations have lived that out. And now we're like coming at a point where things are really going pretty fucked up and pretty bad. Political, economical, ecological, all is just going down the drain. And we're like with our hands in our hair and going like, what the fuck is happening? And we don't know what to do because we've never taken that kind of responsibility for our world. We've just simply allowed this entire system of capitalism, which has been built through generations and generations, which is basically a system that only produces abuse in this world. We've just allowed it to live it, to basically to exist and to continue, and we are just simply following it and going round and round in circles, never actually taking any responsibility for it, because apparently we're too small, which is simply an attitude that we've copied from the previous generations. And so our entire way of existing is nothing but a result of previous generations and is not actually who we really are. And it's really it becomes really clear in reading the Journey to Life blogs and actually applying self-forgiveness that it is, that it's just a program and we're entirely able to deprogram ourselves. It's quite easy, you just have to apply yourself in this process. For instance, in reading Maddies Block, you can see how this is just a program that you can take apart and that you can really see for what it is, and thus simply deprogram yourself and actually correct yourself to stand up as a real being that in fact takes responsibility as what is in fact necessary to be done. So another cool statement here. Okay, I like this one. I forgive myself that I have not accepted and allowed myself to realize that the reason human beings accept that life must end around age 70 or 80 is because our lives as consumers working every day to survive would drive us completely mad if we had to do it for eternity, and because we actually want to die because we could not bear to live alongside poverty and starvation and war for eternity. I forgive myself that I have not accepted and allowed myself to realize that to be able to live eternally on Earth, we would have to end poverty and starvation and war and work together to take care of each other and the Earth, and that since we are taking no action whatsoever to end poverty, starvation and war, we are showing that we actually have no interest in life on Earth. I forgive myself that I have not accepted and allowed myself to realize that as a human being with no interest in life on Earth, waiting around to die at age 70 or 80, that is a starting point I will pass on to my children. Now, which is also a problem with regards to how we're living, is that what we have also simply copied from our parents and previous generations is this fear of dying, and like this also acceptance that, you know, I just have a short life here on Earth, and so basically my life is useless, and so basically I should just get the most of it, which is a complete excuse and justification for us to simply go along with everything on Earth and then wait to die basically, and then hope that we die before the shit really hits the fan, and hope that we can die in a good way, in a peaceful way, in a calm way, and you know, which is gives us a perfect excuse and justification to simply not care about what happens in this world and in the lives of other beings in any way whatsoever, because you know, we're gonna be gone anyway, so why should we care, when this isn't actually a natural thing. This is a belief system that we've also simply copied from previous generations. That's what they have shown us in how to live, because I mean, regardless of whether or not we would live eternally on Earth or only 70 or 80 years, it doesn't really matter, because I mean, either way, a heaven on Earth is best for everyone, whether we live here eternally or not. I mean, every child born into this world would want to end up existing in a heaven on Earth where they don't have to fear for their survival, where they can actually enjoy themselves and not live in constant fear of dying, not live in constant stress for their survival, and then simply waiting around hoping to one day die a peaceful death and not suffer too much while they're here on Earth. I mean, just imagine what we could do and what would be possible if we actually allowed life a chance to expand itself, and to, you know, if we simply supported life instead of destroying it and instead of waiting to die, because in this way we're limiting ourselves in our expression on Earth. I mean, it could even be possible that if we allow life to flourish and if we support life in every way possible instead of money, who knows what we could do. It could perfectly be possible that maybe one day we will live eternally, because, you know, we have brought our self-support to this optimum level where life simply flourishes. I mean, at the moment all we're seeing in this world is complete destruction. We are limiting and destroying and suppressing life in every way possible. So that's what we're seeing. I mean, the physical body is deteriorating and Earth is deteriorating. You know, children are dying. That's like the ultimate statement of, you like, fuck life, which is the statement that we are living at the moment. I mean, just imagine the possibilities if we would live the statement of, you know, we support life, we are life, you know, life is the only value. Okay, so, and then his self-commitment statements are also pretty cool. I see and realize that every word that comes out of my child's mouth has been a result of how I've programmed them and allowed them to be programmed by the world my generation has created through our acceptances and allowances. I see and realize that when my child has defined life as the process of growing up and being educated as to how to survive as a consumer and pursue happiness and then retire and die, that is due to the example I and my generation have stood as, and that thus the statement, "the children are the future," is actually incorrect, as the children are copies of the parents who programmed them and allowed them to be programmed by the parents' generation, and thus the parents are our future, as the past repeating itself, the sins of the fathers passed on to the children. So yes, that's like the biggest deception ever, to believe that our children will save the planet. I mean, they never have. Things have only gotten worse, and it's time we really realize this and actually realize our responsibility as parents, because we are actually responsible at this moment in time to stand up and stop allowing this idea to exist within ourselves, wherein we basically give our responsibility to our children, because that's what we're doing. We're expecting the children to be smarter than us, to be more intelligent than us, to be better than us, and to take care of this world better than we ever did. So what are we doing? We're placing all the burden on their shoulders. Never has any generation ever stood up and realized their own responsibility as parents, that they have to stand as the examples. They have to live the future within the realization that the next generation will never be more than the previous generation. It is now, it is here, that we are responsible for standing up and actually standing as the example of what life will be and has to be for all of eternity, for each and every new generation that will come into this world. Because as long as we keep waiting and hoping and looking out for, the next generation to be better than us, we are just, because we don't realize that we are the example. That's how it works. Children live according to our example, so if we live as the example of giving away our responsibility, then they're going to do exactly the same, and world is only going to get worse. So it's time that we stop allowing ourselves to be so deceived and misled by the apparently glorious and, apparently glorious human evolution, where we only look at the positive. We only look at new technology and blinking lights, but that's only the proof that we have become so brainwashed that we don't even see where all that light comes from. I mean, there is millions of blinking lights in this world, and it's all Hollywood and it's all Vegas, but we don't actually realize that what is being consumed is the earth and its resources to be able to produce that light, and that we are literally exploiting the earth at the speed of light, and we're not even seeing it, because all we see is apparent human evolution, which is one great giant illusion of light. Just, light, like a television, but the television is just images, it's not actually real. We don't see what's happening underneath it, which is complete destruction. So it's time we really open our eyes to that, and that we as parents start standing up and realizing our absolute responsibility, and realize that our children are really only showing what we are allowing to exist within ourselves, and will never be more or better than who we are ourselves. So I suggest to really check out Maddies Blocks, of which I will post the links underneath this video, and also check out the Journey to Life group on Facebook, where there's many cool blogs that you can read through. So yes, thanks.